If you come from a religion or a path or a way that believes that the only tribe with gifts to give you is your tribe, your religion, we invite you tonight for yourself and the good of the world to lose that religion. Welcome to Collective. We're so glad you're here with us. I'm Ben. I'm your host for the service tonight here in downtown DeLand, Florida, and welcome to our living room from anywhere in the world at wearecollectivechurch.com. Some of us have done this more than a handful of times together, hundreds, threes of hundreds. Some of us, maybe this is your first time in a long time here with us, but also in anything like a church or spiritual community. So thank you first for trusting us. Those perspectives keep us fresh and make us alive. I'm gonna stack it. You guys are gonna get a sermon in the front and later on in the service, because this is now like 3 layers. So I had what I was gonna say, because I want to make like a vulnerable connection with you guys. I want to be here and present with you. But then I realized like 15 minutes before the service, June and I were in a fight. And I was like, no, I'm so excited about the service. I can't carry this energy in. So I had to deal with that. And then like right as I was sitting down, Kenny shared that he was feeling anxious. And then I was like, man, you know what? I'm feeling anxious too. So let me start with this. Yeah, Heather. Yeah, June's fine. She had 2 cupcakes and everything's just peachy. Yeah, right. What's that, diabetic healing? So let me start here. I did a wedding last night for one of my best friends. And I was like, yesterday during the day, I was like, man, I've known Kyle like 15 years. And I was like, no, it's been like 20 years. Oh my God, it's been like 25. It's like 28 years. And I was like, I didn't think I had that many years to know somebody. But it was just absolutely magic. And one of the things that it reminded me of was that I came from a moment in time. I came from a season, and last night was like a reunion that was probably 20 years of this, crew that had been together for about 5 or 6 years, high school to when I left for college. And there were like 100 people at this wedding that had been affected by this like youth group that I was a part of and like this Saturday night church service. My version of Collective at the time. I was like, this is radical. And there were, no joke, 100 people that had been influenced by having been a part of this moment in time, this community during this season. And as I was driving back, I was like, oh my God, like 20 years from now, who knows? Some of these kids running around are going to be getting married, and some of us will be there going, that was such a moment in time, right? As Collective got started, as we moved into the theater, post-COVID, it was inspiring to think that we're a part of something and that we're going to kind of carry that forward. I think that's good enough. Let me just ask you to do this, because thankfully I was able to resolve this with June, not just cupcakes, we actually talked it through. Which is new, that's new for me though. That's new for me, especially like 15 minutes out when I'm already anxious. We're like not super prepped. I know you can't tell because it seems everything's airtight. But so June's having this meltdown, and I know it's my fault. I got angry and all this stuff. So, we go back and we're sitting down, and I tell her what I know she needs to know, which is she knows that she did something that both was not acceptable, was also frustrating. She didn't want me to be frustrated with her. And I said, of course, I didn't want my parents to be frustrated, but I forgive you. And she looks at me crying and she says, it doesn't feel like you do. So then it was time to sit there until she felt it. And being there at this wedding, and this is like guilty pleasure, going to a 20-year reunion and being like the keynote and like knocking it out of the park. That's awesome in front of like all these people, and getting ready to do my thing on Sunday night, which I love, and it comes naturally, and I love connecting with you guys. And I'm only as good as I am with my crying kid in the back 10 minutes before. That's it. So thank you guys. I'm really glad that it's you all. I'm glad to be here with you tonight. So let's begin simply by bearing witness to the courage that it takes to gather. We honor that each week with belonging. So whether you've been here a long time or it's your first time, you belong, you matter to us. Those around you add value, and everyone is equal. We've always said your presence makes us who we are. It's more true than ever. Welcome. We've been saying we're not here to be religiously entertained, but to do the good work of spiritual formation, that is, making a good life as good people. So thanks to our artist in residence remotely, Fred Wilson. Kenny's with us to help host tonight. And we appreciate you all being here and making it the good stuff. We all are collective church. Does somebody want to come and read the community statement for us? This is going to be a Choose Your Own Adventure liturgy again. It's right here. Yeah, come on, Heather. So there's your mark right there, but as tall as you are. Okay. Right there? Yeah. Perfect.
I could do some spiritual entertainment. That's okay too, right? Spiritual entertainment, just because that's not all we come for, we can do spiritual entertainment. Okay. We value highly the metaphor of journey. We're different people from different places and backgrounds, representing an intergenerational community. And we've traveled different paths. So we agree not to make assumptions about the person across from us, next to us, or in conversation with us. We challenge ourselves to be sensitive, knowing this community includes a diverse group of people, from lifelong followers of Jesus to people who are just now open to the idea that God might exist. We strive to avoid offense, ask good questions, articulate and explain our responses. We don't assume fluency in Bible, spirituality, or church language because we believe the message of Jesus is not for Christianity, but for humanity. So, we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
Thank you. Hey, friend. Hey there, at the bar. So that's the community. Hey, excuse me. Dan, what's his name? Hey, Jamie. We'd love for you to be a part of this conversation, but in order for that to work, we have to have words and silence, and we can't have you having your own conversation while we're working. Is that cool? Awesome, fantastic, thank you. Hit it, Brandon. So that's the community statement. If that's new to you, we read that every week. That's how we agree to be together when we're together. We've also started singing it. This is by our own Andrew Brooks. It's called Love Without Why.
Travel different paths, beautiful people with messy pasts, so have no fear, no judgment here. Whether you believe in Jesus or don't believe in anything, something you can teach us. You belong, no right, no wrong. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table where no one's turned away. We'll love without why, no one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals, where you are held in light. Good news is on your side. Whoa. Whoa. Life is full of mystery. Solidarity helps us to find some peace in the great unknown. You don't have to be alone. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table where no one's turned away. We'll love
No one has to hide because good news is on your side. Who's with us online? Who might be hiding out there that wants to let us know they're with us?
Well, we got a surprising shout out from Oregon, from Michael Clendenin.
Fantastic. Hey, Michael Clendenin, how you doing? He's been
Yeah.
sending me Facebook messages this week. I haven't had a chance to reply, but I will.
Yeah.
Very good to see you. Glad y'all are on. Anybody else?
Otherwise, we've got some eyes, but not a lot of talking.
No one has to hide. If you want to let us know you're on, that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's who's online. We're going to talk to one another in the room tonight. We've been saying it's hard to build a movement if you don't know who's in it. And so let's chat with one another around this question this evening, about 3 minutes on the clock. Kenny's going to be online, so if anybody other than Michael Clendenin wants to chat with Kenny, jump on there. Here's the opener. Was there anything scary beyond your sense of safety or outside of your comfort zone this week? And I'll just give it away. The theme tonight, we've been talking about fear. The theme tonight is the fear of the world. So did you bump up against anything this week that was other, in a way that was uncomfortable for you or scary, that you might want to put in the category of fear, similar to that? So take this question, take about 3 minutes, house rules apply, no me monsters. This is for you guys here, so get you talking, get you knowing one another. If that means maybe you're a risk taker, maybe you want to go talk to somebody you've never met before, feel free to do that. No pressure. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. You can reflect on this in your head. 3 minutes on the clock, go. Go.
Just hanging in front of a person.
Yeah. All right, we are back. We gave you a little more than 3 minutes because you guys are so smart and good looking. We had a fantastic and terrifying conversation up here. Kenny and Brandon and I.
And Mary.
And Mary. I'm just trying to decide whether or not we're going to include Joy. And we're back. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead. They're going to finish. We're going to talk about what we talked about. So let's start with, so when I framed this question, I'll confess that I framed it pejoratively because we're talking about fear. So it's like, oh, how is it not a negative? But then Brandon brought up there's like a huge opportunity. He's going out for a huge job. And so he has fear associated with a thing he really wants. But part of that process is outside his comfort zone. So let's frame both. How many of you, there's something scary kind of outside of your comfort zone, and that felt like a negative thing? We'll come to you in just a second. And then how many of you felt like you had some outside of your comfort zone, but you put yourself there because you want that risk or you're aiming for that? Cool. All right, so we got hands for both. Let's start with you. What do you want to say, Jamie?
I just got out of the hospital a few hours ago.
Just a few hours ago.
Yeah, I had a seizure.
Oh, wow.
And I just got out, but I'm not scared.
Wow.
They CAT scanned me, and they keep helping me to check in.
Wow. Well, thank God you're here. I'm glad you're here with us. That definitely sounds scary and outside of your comfort zone. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. Yeah, I bet it was not so much fun. Yeah, no.
I played and hit the sidewalk in the back of my head.
Rough stuff. Yeah, yeah. Anybody, I saw a hand back here. Anybody else outside your comfort zone? Well, we were talking about Mary saying Lily's won, so we're going to celebrate in just a minute. You guys have already had cupcakes, but yeah, that's why you had cupcakes. That's why June was crying. It's all, everything's connected. It's all connected. And I'm, thank you. And I was saying that, you know, for me, the fear is a big existential fear. With, you know, the seasonality of co-parenting, there was a lot to do this week. We had events for Collective. I had this big wedding that I needed to be present for and be a part of, and it's my last week with the kids before, you know, they go with Stacy before Christmas. And so there's that existential sense of like not having enough time and not having the depth of quality of time that you need. And well, I mean, so that was my therapy. You guys feel free to do whatever. I'm really grateful that you guys are taking this seriously. I know that one of the things that's shaped Collective profoundly is the ability to have conversations with each other. And I think from what I'm hearing, these small abilities to kind of check in with each other on more than a superficial level are helping to really form the fabric of the community again. So thank you for that. We've said it, we've sung it, we've connected in the room and online. Anybody else online that wants to shout out? Anybody share anything?
Nope.
Yeah. Well,
Radio silence.
radio silence. So how do you take the next step to practice with us this week? Kenny, walk us through it.
Well, it starts with the email. So if you subscribe and select the rundown as well as your preferences, you will have the weekly rundown, which will become your custom dashboard for practicing. Coming up, we've got a bunch of Christmas events. So this coming Wednesday, you're hosting Pints and Parables here. Parables of St. Nicholas.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
I'm thrilled for it. It's
Yeah.
going to be fantastic. That is...
I think it's at 6. But
Okay, so here's one of the things we're going to do. That's a good question. And Steve, I don't know if Steve Tonjes is here. So part of what we're trying to do is not, like, we don't want this to turn into announcements or commercial time. So we're trying to hit these quickly without giving you every detail because you're now trained to get the rundown. And that's where all of those details are. Or if you don't get the rundown because you're so punk rock you don't do email, you also can find it on Facebook. And if you can't find it on Facebook, you can email Steve. And if you don't have email, find me after the service and we'll figure out the times.
It's 6. It's at 6.
It's at 6 o'clock. See,
Yeah.
I just killed time. Now we can tell you the time.
Yeah.
So this is not working at all. The plan, but in the spirit of streamlining, let's go on to the next thing.
Yeah. We've got, of course, Christmas Eve coming up on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then the following Sunday, we will not be having an in-person service. We'll be online only. And that will be a 5 p.m. Facebook release
Yeah, on the 26th.
Yes.
So, and if you're like, oh my gosh, why? That's just too much church. We're not going to have church on Friday night and then again on Sunday night. It's just too much. So we will release a video service, which I think last year Brandon did like a recap of some of the best of the year before. There's also some blessings that I'm going to be recording that actually are a part of the appendix to this book that formed this series, How Not to Be Afraid. So I'm going to share some of those with you guys. So there will be a service, but not in person. We won't be here. It will just be an online release.
So other than that,
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, remember the point is to practice. Showing up, giving, and serving are the core ways that we practice together, from everything in the rundown to giving financially. It's your time and your life, so make your plan to practice, like through the email. Planning is the practice. And of course, if you need any help, I'm more than happy to help you after the service. Now, let's slow down and shift from words and brains and planning to breath and silence, being. Both are essential to our practice. It all belongs.
This is such a powerful illustration because we just said that the planning and preparation is the practice. So I'm going to actually prepare while you watch because we didn't do this earlier. Where does this go? It's going to go right there for now. You know what? I changed my mind again. I think I'm going to have my iPad after all. Yes. Let's slow down. I was listening to something this week, and I can't remember who it was. It was some guru or it might have been Ram Dass. I can't remember, but they said they boiled down the entirety of their body of teaching in their life to peace can only come through forgiveness and silence. That was it. That's everything. Peace comes through forgiveness and silence. In a minute, we're going to sound the singing bowl, and we're going to sit together. We ask you to join us for a few minutes in gently returning to your attention, to your true self or to God, whether that feels like a center or it feels like emptiness or anywhere in between. Sink into that. We're going to breathe and listen as if our senses are searching for something and open to surprise. We know that our minds will wander. Come back to your breath without judgment, just gently to your breath. You can use the drone footage as best helps you to survey the inner landscape. May the silence allow us to contemplate what we want the ceremony to accomplish for us tonight. Humility, spiritual rebirth, strength for what lies ahead. The sweet, mystical brew of coffee. Let's breathe. It's all right. Yeah, I was thinking that was like real good quiet. I don't know where else you guys get your quiet, but they don't have it like we do here. Tell your friends. I truly was about to say, I don't know about you guys, but I've said this a few times. I think we tend to think of silence as the absence of noise, and I've come to love silence as a substance unto itself. And I was going to invite you to carry that with you this week. That was heavy in the best sense of the word. You could weigh that on a scale. That was some good silence. I don't even know where we are. Thank you. Larry, are you busy? Would you be willing to read? You can bring her. There's a big couch. No, come on. I want to hear Matthew 1 from you, if you don't mind. Like the whole thing, though. Sorry. Oh, good. I figured you had it memorized. The old toolkit. Yeah, no, I shouldn't have said Matthew 1. Matthew 2, he's like, is that the genealogy? There is an entire chapter of genealogy. That'd be funny if I made you do that. Yeah.
Shall I sit?
Yeah, please.
All the news that's fit to print. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born, King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child, and as soon as you have found him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route.
Keep going.
Is there more?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When he regained his mind,
Some things are just true.
yeah. Yeah.
Say it again, you got to.
When he had regained his mind?
Yeah.
Okay. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." After Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel. For those who were trying to take the child's life are dead." So he got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And having been warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and lived in a town called Nazareth. So was fulfilled what was said through the prophets, that he would be called a Nazarene. You didn't tell me it was that long.
I did so. All right, how about a sermon, shall we? Is there a title slide? A World of Fears and Gifts. Okay, that sounds good. We'll do that. Where are we? Oh, is there a lighter up here? It's always Heather. Thanks, Heather. There was one. I know there was one. We had an event, though, last night. People were playing bingo. They'd be stealing lighters. Oh, thank you. Easy. Yeah, I know. I said no, but you got it. Okay. Thank you. That's why you always bring your own hype man. Come on. Come on. Pyrotechnics? Okay, you guys should see that. Whoa. That, and then some. Okay, cool. Now, may the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts grant us not only the light of wisdom to understand these words, but the fire of conviction to put them into practice. Amen. All right, I want to tonight allow a couple of streams to become a river of wisdom. The first stream is Advent, so we just heard this long reading. This is a season approaching Christmas where we get Jesus the refugee and the wise men from the east. And the second stream has been this theme this fall, shelter, and basically practicing telling better stories that help us to live less afraid. Tonight, it's the fear of the world. So Advent, wise men, and the fear of the world. And I also want to just very gently tease this launch that's been like a year in the making, and certainly I think by the time it's all released, it'll, on Easter, it'll have been a year. In the new year, we're going to address directly, and our hope is to elevate the discourse around things specifically like racism and nationalism and LGBTQ discrimination and sexual shame. I think all of which, and there's going to be more, but all of those specifically, I think, are expressions of the fear of the world. And so the message of the sermon tonight that makes these two streams into a river is this, and I'll say it a couple times. God is revealed to us in the strangers of the world and in receiving and not fearing their gifts. God is revealed to us in the strangers of the world and in receiving and not fearing their gifts. Our tribe happens to be Christian because we were born that way. That's the language and the ritual and the traditions and the mythos of our culture. More than likely, you were born Christian, and that's just kind of simply what it is where you were born. And similarly, when and where Jesus was born, everyone who was not of Israel's tribe, that's Israel's tradition and religion, was understood as an other. They had their own word for it. And so these dudes from the East, they're obviously not Israelites. They're others, the wise men. We know them as the wise men or as the magi. They were astrologers. They were shaman. They were mystics or gurus from a foreign religion. And we know this because our story says they observed a strange star in the heavens, a star that they interpreted to mean that a new king had been born in Judea. They're astrologers. According to Matthew's gospel, they traveled from the east to honor him. And to honor him, I think, is not just they brought him stuff, but to bring valuable and also symbolic gifts. As is usually the case at Christmas, not everybody feels the cheer. Herod, in the story, is furious about this baby because anyone who might unsettle the status quo is a threat to him. They're challenging his power and his title. And the Magi, though, we look at them in contrast to Herod, they're excited. And you go, how excited are they to come worship this baby? They traveled across the world to participate in something new. They left their country and came to a new country to participate in new leadership, in new hope, and new perspective. Does this sound like good news for anybody? Like their country didn't have good leadership? Okay, that'll make sense maybe. So we've been saying the world right now is wondering who to look to. And that what we want, what we hope as we move forward as a church is that we would be a credible voice in a time of change and awakening. That we'd be a credible voice in a time of change and awakening to help people feel more loved and to be more loving. That's what we're hoping for. Not so much with Herod. He's not excited for change. So when Herod deploys troops to the Bethlehem region of Judea with orders to kill the infant boys, which if you're playing along, that's genocide, Joseph is warned in a dream. So he takes the family, they flee to Egypt, where Jesus spends a chunk of his childhood as a refugee. And so here's some Bible trivia. If you get it right, we'll give you a shot glass. We do still have the shot glasses, yeah. We're not going to support alcoholism, but I will give you a shot glass. Were the Egyptians Israelites? Yes or no? I love that you guys are... Sharon's going with no. Sharon, you may not want a shot glass, but you get one anyway. Well, let's be more specific. Did they worship Israel's God, Egyptians? No. Okay, no, right. So, and here's why I ask. How meaningful is it? We just read this story, and the reason I wanted to have the whole story read is, how meaningful is it that members of other religions, the Magi from the east, the Egyptians to the south, these people helped save Jesus' life. They participated in bearing Jesus safely into the world. We could put it like this: there is no Christmas story without the help, cooperation, and engagement of other religions. The Christmas story is actually the original interfaith work. No, not the original, obviously, there's more before that, but it is good interfaith work, we'll say. Perhaps the role of characters like the wise men and the Egyptians have something to say to us about better ways for relating. Because through the centuries, religions have repeatedly divided people, especially and including Christianity, have far too often spread prejudice and fear and hate and violence. But the Magi, in their offering gifts to honor Jesus, in their refusal to participate in the deception and the coercive politics of Herod, and in the Egyptians' protective hospitality for Jesus and his refugee family, in the story, and let me say, in the story, in this section, it's really not at all about what Jesus is doing, right? In this story, the heroes, and I think what we see in the story is a better way than the way we're relating to religions now. I think we see in this original Christmas story that Jesus, even as a child, is influenced and formed by the generosity and the hospitality of these other religions, these other traditions, these other practitioners. And it makes sense then that Jesus in his ministry, part of the reason he's killed and hated by religion and power, is that he would grow to form a movement that included other religions and no religion at all in this good news of God for everyone. So the wise men, they come and they give these gifts to Jesus, and I'm saying they give Jesus more than just incense and gold and myrrh, that they give him, like, what if they're not just the best gift givers in the Far East, but they also give him wisdom? What if it's not just the stuff they give him, but they give him insight, they give him depth, they give him practice, they give him enlightenment from their tradition in a way that actually makes him who he is? What if there is no Christianity without Buddhism, without astrology, without Zoroastrianism, without the zodiac, without Eastern contemplative practice, without Western magic? What if in order for it to be Christianity, it has to understand how to receive the gifts of all traditions? That's how our story starts. So rather than some colonial conversion that puts us in this sort of dyad of we either have to fear the world or conquer it, which I think is how most of us were taught Christianity, right? Those were the two poles. Like, there's a bunch of shit you shouldn't do, fear it. There's a bunch of people that need Jesus, conquer it. And it's like, those are the black and white categories you're given. What if it's not that simple? What if we can approach one another in the spirit of generous gift giving, honor and respect that we see exemplified by these Magi? What if we could be the people who are there to welcome and protect each other, to extend unconditional hospitality outside of our religions and traditions as exemplified by the Egyptians. What I'm saying is, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are on it, but we can also be people that in the same way we want to carry that silence with us out into the world, we can carry these values, we can carry these ethics out into the world whereby we model for people that instead of looking for faults and errors by which to judge other religions and discredit or insult or exclude, that we should be the people who are trained and who are showing people how to ask better questions. Just for example, what good can be discovered in this religion? Let's honor it. What treasures have they been given to share with us? Let's warmly receive them. What dangers do they face? Listen to me. I didn't say what dangers do they pose, which is how we always want to look at other religions. What dangers do they face and how could we protect them? What gifts do they have? What gifts do we have to share with them? Let's generously offer them. And this is, I mean, if you've been around Collective long enough, you can see this coming. It's easy to say the Magi and the Egyptians, they represent other religions, other traditions. They helped at the birth of Jesus, hence Christianity, interfaith cooperation, interfaith giving, sharing, hospitality, protection. That is all true. That's this sermon. It's beautiful. I believe with all my heart it's present in the text. Of course, we're about that. That's really good stuff. That's the church that we've built. And I want you to know that as long as we've had a dream for whatever space was going to be when we got in it, which for a long time it was going to be what's Dino Climb now on the other end of town, and then for a little bit it was going to be the Ace Hardware on that end of town. As long as we've had a dream for wherever we were going to land, we've had a dream for a West Volusia Interfaith Center. Because we felt like we needed to name specifically and designate space for the work of diverse faith traditions and folks with varying degrees of religious or spiritual engagement to interact together on purpose and for the sake of understanding and peacemaking and the kind of cooperative work that we're already doing through faith, where we can share the values that we share, justice, the common good, the golden rule. Thomas Merton, the mystic and writer, says about interfaith dialogue, he says the beauty is when we do this kind of work together in this space, we could each, he says, stand in our identity with self-respect. How do we cultivate a space where we all bring the beauty of our traditions and the flaws of our traditions? We can be honest, we have to be, but where we can bring those and stand in our identity with self-respect and let someone who has different beliefs from a different tradition, they use different language, they understand God differently, we can allow them to stand in their identity with self-respect. All that to say, this week we realized that to another level. We've already been here having services as Collective, which is just an exercise in interfaith Christianity. The Quaker meeting that meets on Sunday mornings, which is also a phenomenally open and inclusive and progressive group of people worshiping. This last Wednesday, we also hosted the first DeLand Buddhist group meeting since they started meeting again after COVID. So their first in-person meeting was Wednesday. We hope they'll continue that. And Odin's also here representing dog meditators. So I want to start with this. Let's end with this. It's 5:50. I want you guys to actually get a chance to share because I think, hey, what's up, bud? Come on. Hey, I know. Hey, bum. So this is not the question that goes up there because I had a different idea. I want you guys to talk with one another for maybe 5 or 6 minutes and share if there are experiences of what are the gifts that you've received from other religions, we'll say, or other traditions. So if you came up evangelical, that could be like Catholicism, you found Richard Rohr, or if you grew up, whatever. Other religions, other traditions, but where have those gifts been for you? So you grew up however you were, and somewhere you encountered, somebody said something from another tradition, you went to a service with a friend you'd never been to, you saw something represented in a movie or in media. Where have you received gifts from religions other than your own, other than your home tradition? Is that cool? Does that make sense? Cool. 5 minutes, house rules apply, no me monsters, everybody gets to share with one another as good as you can. 5 minutes, I'll probably give you 6 because you're real good. Go. Okay. Well, you're still going. You got 2 more minutes. You guys are still talking. 2-minute warning. I like our little sets.
All right, boss. I gotta go get something to eat, but
Do it.
I got 3 SoundCloud pages, 8 Facebook pages. Just friend the top 2 Facebook, SoundCloud, and we.
Good deal. I'll connect with you. Thanks, Jamie.
And I wanted you to email me, so, because you said on Wednesday is Buddha.
Yeah.
What time?
Well, it's not a recurring thing. I got to talk to Sensei Morris this week and see.
And then the belly dancers.
Oh, all that stuff. Super
I
cool.
know them all. And the belly dancers see me and they stop, and I'm like taking them video, and they stop and perform.
That's awesome. All right, guys, let's share with each other. Yeah. That's not what we're asking, but thank you. Just afraid of spider clouds. I don't think that. What gifts have you guys received from other religions or traditions? I'll go first. My mom my mom and her mom left the Catholic Church because my grandfather was an abusive alcoholic, and not to drop that on you like heavy, I've dealt with it. But they left the church, and I grew up with a sense that the kind of evangelical Christianity that my dad's side of the family brought in, like that my mom kind of went along with, was all there was. And then we were like, oh, my mom's brother's side of the family is all still Catholic. And like one of them is also training to be a priest. But there was this like sense that it was at times like a different religion, or that, we got weird messages about Catholicism. And then in the last 10 years, finding teachers like Richard Rohr and people who are out of the mystical Catholic movement who are just some of the greatest thinkers and teachers has been a real gift for me that I didn't expect. And I'll be honest, I stopped looking for good stuff in Christianity for a while. And so that was refreshing to find stuff in Christianity that paralleled the best of what I was finding in like the world's traditions was really nice. Anybody else? What gifts from other traditions? Yeah, Jess. Yeah.
And so it was so warm and inviting, just being able to like have that homey feeling.
How cool. Yeah, well, and to experience the feeling of home in a different tradition, I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what a gift. How cool. Yeah, Joy.
This is, I was working in South Florida for Dr. Muhammad, and they were practicing Ramadan. So I said, well, what's Ramadan? And the doctor explained to me what's Ramadan, and I was practicing Catholic at that time. I said, well, there's no difference. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
But there was no difference.
Wow, how cool. Yeah, Bill.
Taking it on really had a deep influence on me. I had no idea what mindfulness was before I came along.
Thich Nhat Hanh is a Buddhist teacher. You set up the Eucharist perfectly because I'm using his liturgy, so thank you. Yeah.
The man just walks this talk for decades. And also Kabir Kalminsky, who is a Sufi scholar, and Merton, who taught me to wake up to the gifts of other religions.
Yeah.
And with Kabir is this ecstatic love relationship between the human and God.
Wow.
It's beyond this. It's a heart of God experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Anybody else? A gift from another religion? Yeah, Jerry.
Because a lot of people love sports.
Yeah, sports.
What Powell sports taught his team.
Yeah. Yeah. Tribalism. Got it. Yeah, Larry, bring it home. Don't make promises you can't keep.
I came out of a rather rigid evangelical background. And years ago, I'm not sure that the Protestants or the evangelicals really appreciated what meditation is.
Yeah.
And then, the Buddhist movement came to the States, and people were attracted to it, found, peace.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the products of that is that we've discovered something in our own heritage that we had ignored for centuries and centuries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no want of information or the practice of meditation in the Psalms.
No. For sure.
But it's like, oh, it's there. It was there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think the folks that I follow who are, maybe 10 years older than me, like down to contemporaries of mine, are all seeming to have that experience where they've departed from the idea that there's a right and wrong reading of the text, and instead they sort of think of it in like a before and after seeing version of the text. That like once you can see, you go back and read it and you're like, oh, I get what they were after. But when you're coming to it trying to ask it to tell you things that it's not trying to, it just gets so messed up. But yeah, I think once you have that awakening and you can look back and see the things that are really truly working and find them in the text and readings that we just had not revisited, that's beautiful. All right, so let's listen for this truth from our teacher, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. Before every meal, a monk or a nun recites the 5 contemplations. This food is the gift of the whole universe, the earth, the sky, and much hard work. May we live in a way that is worthy of this food. May we transform our unskillful states of mind, especially that of greed. May we eat only foods that nourish us and prevent illness. May we accept this food for the realization of the way of understanding and love. In Christianity, when we celebrate the Eucharist, I want to remind you that's the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh saying we celebrate the Eucharist because he is also Christian. When we celebrate the Eucharist, sharing the bread and wine as the body of God, we do it in the same spirit of piety and mindfulness, aware that we are alive, enjoying dwelling in this present moment. The message of Jesus during the Seder that has become known as the Last Supper was clear. His disciples had been following him. They had the chance to look into his eyes and to see him in person. But it seems they had not yet come into real contact with the marvelous reality of his being. So when Jesus broke the bread and poured the wine, he said, "This is my body. This is my blood. Drink it and eat it, and you will have life." It was a drastic way to awaken his disciples from forgetfulness. I love that. It was a drastic way to awaken his disciples from forgetfulness. This is my body. This is my blood. The miracle happens not because he said or because we say the right words in the right way, but because we eat and we drink in mindfulness. In a moment, we'll receive this good gift of the Eucharist, a meal symbolizing the open table and the humanity of God in the body of Christ. May this table open you in vulnerability to feel more loved and give you courage to be more loving. This is good news for us and for the world. This table is set for us and for all people, and no one will ever be turned away. Come, let's share with one another this meal and these words, receiving love as one, being love as many. Come when you're ready.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, and their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow, no tomorrow, and I find it kinda funny, find it kinda sad, the dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had, find it hard to tell you, find it hard to take, people walk in circles, it's a very, very mad world, children waiting for the day they feel good, happy birthday,
Thank you so much for joining us in person and online tonight. And thank you again for making financial support a part of your practice at collectivegives.com. Don't forget to make your plan to stay connected with us by visiting wearecollectivechurch.com. You can update your preferences to customize your engagement. If you're willing to share what you found here and make it easier for others to find us also, go on to our Facebook or go on Google and give us a review. For benediction this evening, we're revisiting a poem from Mary Oliver called Messenger. My work is loving the world. Here the sunflowers, there the hummingbird, equal seekers of sweetness. Here the quickening yeast, there the blue plums. Here the clam deep in the speckled sand. Are my boots old? Is my coat torn? Am I no longer young and still half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. The phoebe, the delphinium, the sheep in the pasture and the pasture, which is mostly rejoicing since all the ingredients are here, which is gratitude to be given a mind and a heart and these body clothes, a mouth which to give shouts of joy to the moth and the wren, to the sleepy dug-up clam, telling them all over and over how it is that we live forever.
Let's bring our hands together as a symbol of our intention that we'll carry into this week. First, to our foreheads for clarity of thought, and to our lips for clarity of speech, and to our hearts for clarity of action, so that in all that we say and do, love would be our first thought, and our first word, and our first deed. Grace and peace. Let's now